The registrar of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, Professor Ishaq Olanrewaju Oloyede, is quoted as apologizing for the errors in the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME. But long before now, I have been questioning the rationale behind the adoption of computer-based tests for Nigerian children when many of them come from villages and towns without, and even parts of areas of town and cities where electricity is rare to come about, if not non-existent. Throughout Nigeria, the electricity situation is a sorry case, and with particular reference to this government, with many collapse of the national grid, in addition to the prevailing paucity and scarcity of electricity. So this is, in fact, it will be interesting to find out how the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board has been coping with the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination done via CBT, computer-based test, in a country with dire shortage of electricity, highly erratic network. So why is this type of situation not to be expected if we are realistic with ourselves? CBT of UTME, JAMB's UTME, did not start with Professor Oloyede, but with Professor Dibu Ojenide, his immediate predecessor. So, Professor Oloyede may apologize, but we have to look at where we are coming from and the root cause. In fact, it will be interesting to really point torchlight on how JAMB has been managing with the computer-based test for many children coming from many villages and towns and areas of towns and cities where there is scarcity, paucity, and scarcity of electricity. I could see a priori manipulations since over the years, because the circumstances for CBT for Nigerian children throughout Nigeria and cutting across all the tertiary academic institutions, the most populous nation, black nation in the world, with paucity, gross shortage of electricity, and you are insisting on computer-based tests. So there have been crises of computer-based CBT centers, and people having to travel from their village to town where they will settle in hotel, pay hotel bills, pay transport bills because of CBT. So how did they acquire enough knowledge to do the CBT test? So all these are issues that should bother us beyond these errors in quotes. So the fundamentals, are they there? The fundamental basic requirements to do CBT for Nigerian children. So where is equity between the disadvantaged areas, electricity-wise, and the privileged areas? Because the purpose of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board was to engender equity in distribution of admission. That was the primary purpose. Where the university matriculation examination conducted by JAMB before 2013 was paper and pen or pencil. But that one works for everybody. You don't have to know about computer. Knowing about computer is good. Not only good, is necessary, with particular reference to our day of today. But in the absence of electricity, how realistic? That's the question. That's the question. But you don't care. It doesn't matter. So fundamentally, there is lack of consideration. Being realistic is not there. We have to admit it. So it's more than errors, certain errors. The fundamental errors of imposition of CBT on all of Nigerian children, whether they have electricity or not, whether they know about computer or not, whether computer is possible for operation or not, and then of course erratic network. Which of this is considered in our adoption of CBT? And now government trying to impose it on WAEC and NECO. That is a case of somebody who doesn't know his limit. Leaders that don't really care. That's your own problem. So the issue is not UTME per se, but CBT, computer-based test. So a lot of manipulations must have been going on, because practically, from what we can see, is hell. It's hell for people who have to look for, who have to be fixed in computer-based test centers, from so many places without electricity. That should be a basic concern. But is it of concern to our leaders? Do they care? Do they have priorities? So if you want equity, computer-based test cannot provide it. What can provide it is paper and pen, or paper and biro, so as not to put at disadvantage brilliant children from rural areas and areas that are not supposed to be rural, but rural because of the conditions, which is obvious to everybody.